The warlord's tent smelled of sweat, incense, and the lingering smoke of a dozen pipes. Outside, the desert night hummed with insects and the shuffle of armed guards. Inside, it was just the two of us. Me, a weary diplomat clinging to a slim chance at peace, and him, a man who had carved an empire out of war and fear. We had been negotiating for hours, going back and forth about ceasefires, trade routes, and prisoner exchanges. His eyes had measured me carefully, like a merchant weighing gold dust. For the first time in weeks, I felt we were close. Then my phone buzzed. The call came from the hospital back home. The doctor's voice was grim, each word dropping like lead. "Your daughter's in a coma. Drunk driving accident. The one behind the wheel was him, the billionaire's son." My breath caught. I wanted to believe I had misheard, but the next sentence cut away all denial. "He's already on a jet, bound for a country without extradition treaties, untouchable." My chest tightened as though the air itself had betrayed me. My little girl, my reason for every negotiation, every sacrifice, lay broken in a hospital bed. And the man who had done it was fleeing, laughing in the lap of luxury, shielded by money and power. I didn't realize the warlord had been listening. He leaned forward, his eyes glinting like a predator's in the half-light. Then he laughed. Not the cruel laugh of mockery, but one of dark amusement. He reached into the folds of his robe and pulled out a phone. Gold-plated, heavy, studded with gems. He held it out like a relic. "I own that country," he said, his voice like gravel over steel. "Their ministers, their generals, their airports. And I hate drunk drivers. Tell me which jet. I will have it diverted to my runway. He will be a gift from me to you." The phone weighed like a weapon in my hand. For years I had sworn to uphold the law, to negotiate peace, to resist vengeance. Yet here, in the heat of the desert, with the ghost of my daughter's laughter echoing in my mind, those oaths seemed like paper shields. I gave him the flight number. His men moved swiftly. Orders were spoken in dialects I barely understood, but their efficiency needed no translation. Messages spread like wildfire through hidden networks. Bribes whispered through encrypted lines. Threats carried faster than the desert wind. Somewhere high above the earth, a private jet's path curved, its fate rewritten. Hours later, I stood beside the warlord as the sound of engines roared across the darkened sky. The jet, gleaming under floodlights, landed on a strip carved into the desert rock. The warlord's soldiers swarmed it before the wheels had cooled. The door opened, and there he was. The billionaire's son stepped out with arrogance painted across his face. Designer jacket, expensive watch, that careless sneer that only comes from a lifetime of never hearing the word no. He scanned the scene, confused at first, then indignant. "Do you know who I am?" he barked, his voice trembling under forced bravado. "My father will—" The warlord cut him off with a booming laugh. He gestured toward me with a flourish, as if presenting a prize. "Yes, boy, we know exactly who you are, and tonight you belong to him." The air sneer cracked into fear. He stumbled back, but the warlord's men grabbed him, dragging him across the dirt toward the fortress that loomed against the night sky. His protests echoed, but they fell flat against stone walls that had heard centuries of screams. I should have spoken, should have stopped it, but my voice stayed buried, crushed under the weight of rage and grief. The warlord placed a heavy hand on my shoulder. His grip was strong, steady, grounding. "Now we are bound," he said. "Peace is forged not only with ink and signatures, but with blood and justice. Remember that." The next day, the negotiations went smoother than I ever could have imagined. The warlord spoke less like an adversary and more like a brother. Terms were agreed upon swiftly, disputes settled with a nod. It was as though by sharing vengeance, I had become part of his world. And yet, every night when I closed my eyes, I saw the boy's face. I heard his voice shift from arrogance to terror. Somewhere deep inside, I wondered if my daughter would recognize the man I had become, the father who had traded principles for retribution. But then, I thought of her pale face in that hospital bed, her breath shallow, her body broken by his recklessness. And the answer came with clarity. The boy would not see the next sunset. And for the first time since the call, I slept without dreaming.